more important to have this report back event because we didn't actually get to bond as much as we usually do on these bus trips on the way home because actually it was a shorter trip, which in some ways is a good thing, right? But in other ways it's a bad thing because it's like everyone was like totally exhausted when we finally got on the bus, and then people woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, got in their cars, went home. And so we didn't really get a chance to sort of do some of the story exchanging, and so we wanted to get a chance to do that here. This protest was really an important thing, and so I'm really glad that we had so many Minnesotans who were well represented. We had over 100 people from Minnesota come, but also I think we had hundreds of other Minnesotans who drove. Our state was very represented. In terms of a mathematical count for the protest, it's somewhere between 16,000 to 20,000 people, and that makes this literally the largest anti-war mobilization that's happened in years. Let alone one of the largest protests that's ever happened in the city of Chicago. Right. And we know that this day because for those people who were there, literally we took over lanes and lanes and lanes of traffic. Right. And when you saw that picture, I love that picture where we're taking up the whole area underneath the L. You can see sort of what a size that is, but organizers from Cangate have looked at photos that were taken from the air and have counted how many people were on, a block. And we know from that research that, 16,000 people is not being generous. 16,000 people is being totally accurate. And there's, okay, you want to get down? Okay. And so we're really excited about the fact that we were a part of this national mobilization to say no to NATO. A year ago there were a lot of people in this country who didn't even really understand what NATO was or what its relationship was to imperialism, let alone a lot of people who didn't really even understand who the G8 was. I think we did some really great organizing locally to try to bring that information to people, and I think people around the country use these meetings as an opportunity to try to educate people. It was a great protest in terms of there was representation of the anti-war movement, from the Palestinian community, from the Puerto Rican community, from unions, including, I think it was totally kick-ass that the nurses organized this major mobilization that weekend to say no to NATO and to really make that connection with money for health care and better for war. But the unions and nurses were there and representing. And then obviously it's a big victory to have someone like the Reverend Jesse Jackson also be marching with us and doing some of that PR work beforehand announcing NATO. And so we're really excited about it. The anti-war movement, in my opinion, really needed this. I'm saying to sort of look and see look, we can still flex our muscles and get people out there, and I think it's a real sign that, when you see on those polls that 61% of all Americans actually think that we should leave Afghanistan. Look, people really do think that. They're not just telling it to pollsters, because you can't get numbers like that in the street if people don't actually agree with you. And so I think people are really inspired to see people from all walks of life, all parts of the country, even some other countries, marching together. And so I think that we pull out something really awesome locally, but also nationally. And so we wanted to give us an opportunity for people to talk about that together, but also just to sort of give yourselves the moment to sort of take it in and be like, that was really awesome. Images from a dream, right? So who all in this room was at this protest, right? Was on the bus? Can we get bus A and then bus B? Who was on bus A?
The first one.
First bus, right? Okay, so there's the first bus and the second bus. Right. So this is the first bus. Who's on the second bus? All right. Meet your other fellow neighbors. You guys actually convene in the streets and get a free march together. We've not marched by bus. No. Well, that's that's the part where you're supposed to be in the same room and share the same stories. So who has a story? Who has an experience they'd like to start us off with and share, or a question? Do you have something?
Me?
Oh, you want him to know, you gotta say his name.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I can't see you. I met Jesse Jackson, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Because I have one of my friends was walking around, and she walks up to me. She's like, "Hey, I just saw Amy Goodman. Do you want to meet her?" Sure. And come to find out, she's interviewing Jesse Jackson at the same time, and I got to speak to Amy Goodman for a second. I didn't get to speak to Jesse Jackson. We just ran it. We just kind of bumped into each other, but because the press was right there. But it was pretty cool.
Yeah, 2 birds, 1 stone, right? I know that. Pretty good. Cool. Anybody else? Yeah?
I just wanted to, it was great to go on the bus there, and then, hanging out, meeting people, and especially meeting Carlos who, at the same time, well-known piano activist in the